concert this weekend, I had a special experience called an SEM. What's an SEM, you might ask? SEM stands for Strong Experience of Music and was coined by music cognitionists Alf Gabrielson and Siv Lindstrom in their 1993 paper on strong experiences of music. They were following up on previous studies by Maslow, the hierarchy of needs guy, who also studied what he called peak experiences, which are transcendent, positive, emotional experiences. A difference between Gabrielson's SEMs and Maslow's peak experiences is that SEMs can be either positive or negative because both happen. SEMs are pretty self-explanatory and you'd know if you had one, but Gabrielson et al. Identified 7 types of characteristics of SEMs. Your SEMs might fall into one of these categories or multiple ones. First, most SEMs are perceived as unique, incredible, and unforgettable. Pretty much all SEMs are going to fit under this category. 2, there are often physical reactions like goosebumps, crying, changes in breathing, heart rate, temperature, wanting to jump around all of a sudden or sing, a sudden desire to be alone, and so on. 3, some perceptual aspects of SEMs include things like synesthesia, where you see color or taste things with music, or an intensified sense of perception, like being hyper aware of everything going on in the music and in the room, tensing or releasing your muscles, or a sense of being somehow embedded within the music, like being one with it. 4th, there are cognitive characteristics of SEMs, which include changes in attitude, like becoming happy when you are sad and vice versa, or a change of sense of where you are in time or space, time slowing or speeding up, or time like not existing at all for you, a connection to memories where it's like you're reliving them or thinking of specific images or more. 5, emotional characteristics include very strong emotions, like being the happiest you've ever been in your entire life. SEMs tend to have more positive emotions than negative ones, but negative ones can also be SEMs. Most SEMs do have this like emotional characteristic to them. 6 are existential or transcendental aspects, and these include reflections on human life, religious visions, encounters with the divine, cosmic experiences, and otherworldly phenomena, which you'll definitely hear from people while they were like singing at church, but I've also heard people talk about live concerts as religious experiences too, and this is why. And finally, 7, personal and social aspects of SEMs include a sense of liberation or cleansing, uplifting, hope, increased self-esteem, and more, which is part of why music can be so therapeutic, religious, and work well with social justice efforts. This weekend, I experienced a change in attitude and emotion. I don't want to go into details, but I've been going through a really rough patch, so I was very excited to see one of my favorite bands, the Family Crest, live here in Chicago, and it was cool because my social media friend's band, Cirilla, was also opening for them, so it was a win-win. I actually don't personally know anyone who listens to the Family Crest, so it was surreal to be in a concert with a bunch of people who not only listen to the Family Crest, but who know every word to their songs and were singing along and so excited to be there with. In one specific song called It Keeps Us Dancing, I got this overwhelming sense that everything is okay, that I'm not alone, that things will get better, and the lyrics there are, where you're going is where I've been, where your heart leads, it's not the end. Like a fire, you'll grow and grow, and it keeps us moving. Oh, it keeps us dancing. That moment gave me hope. Other cool things to know about SEMs are what contributes to them even happening. Krauss et al. 2020 found that SEMs are more likely to happen in group settings, mostly at concerts and when the person experiencing the SEM is singing. Both of these things were happening at the concert this weekend. I and a bunch of other people were singing along. I also wasn't the only one to have an SEM during this concert. One of the musicians even said that he was crying, and that's a good example of the role that emotional contagion has on us in musical experiences. If you've ever been around someone who started crying and then you also started crying because they were crying, aka you're a sympathetic crier, that's an example of what we call emotional contagion. Uslin, who co-edited the Oxford Handbook of Music and Emotion, has emotional contagion listed as one of the ways in which music is able to convey and induce emotions in listeners. So if other people around you are having an SEM, that you might also have one, especially if you're a sympathetic crier. And that's one other part of it. Who you are as a person influences whether or not you're more likely to have an SEM. Personality aspects like openness and flexibility make you more likely to experience SEMs. I've always been told I'm super sensitive, like it was a bad thing, but because of that, I'm more likely to have SEMs. So I think being super sensitive is a good thing after all. SEMs give me hope and purpose, and I feel bad for people who haven't had any kind of strong experiences of music. I love learning about these type of phenomena because I get to see that I'm not alone or broken in feeling so strongly about music, music, and I get to appreciate the experiences I have even more. If you're interested in learning more about SEMs, Gabrielson actually has a whole book on it called Strong Experiences with Music. Music is much more than just music. Many SEMs are really personal, but if you have any you want to share, I want this comment section to be a safe place for you to do that. And bonus points if you can identify which of the 7 categories your SEM hits. Otherwise, happy musicking!